Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Clayton, at Clates AFC on X. It's the big one. We're here to preview the Liverpool game. It's top of the table versus third in the table. The team that has only lost once. Oh, we're both a team that's only lost once, actually, but a team that's only conceded 3 in red hot form, and an Arsenal team that is arriving in a very unique situation. So here to preview the game with me is my co-host, FPL Nima on X. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's a massive game. I feel ready for it. I'm just going to be getting pumped on Sunday. I'm going to come early to the stadium. I just feel like it's got all the things about a title challenge, a match about it. It's people are saying like you lose this, you're out the title challenge, and it's only bloody October. So it's it definitely feels like an intense game to say the least.
Yeah, big time. Like I'm just never on board with that whole thing of like if you lose this one, then you're out of it. Like it's literally not even November yet. And even I was watching Arteta's presser just before this, and a reporter kind of was trying to ask him the question like if you lose, and he literally interrupted him and just went, "If we win." And he was basically like, "We don't think like that. We don't prepare that way. We prepare to win." So in his brain, he doesn't even contemplate what if we lose. It's like, okay, we'll deal with that afterwards if it happens, but everything is focused on getting the win. And it's it's a big one. Liverpool have done phenomenal so far this season. Arne Slot has come in and really impressed. I think in the Champions League they've won all 3 of their games. They beat Leipzig midweek. I remember they beat AC Milan. I want to say they've won another one as well, but it's
I'm
escaped
sure
my
they're
mind.
on 9 points as well. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they are. I just can't remember who the third team was, but they've only conceded 1 goal in the Champions League. So he's doing very well. Their one defeat in the league did come at home against Nottingham Forest, but yeah, fair play. Like to come in and win as many games as he's done, I think replacing a manager like Klopp as well, and to kind of have the balls to go in and kind of tweak that kind of heavy metal style of football as well. He's implemented like a bit more of a controlled play to Liverpool, which I don't think we typically associate with them. So really impressive job so far. And it's just so annoying. Like I speak a lot about the timing of when we play teams, right? I think
Mm.
timing wise, this is probably one of the most ideal times to be playing Arsenal, which is not a nice thing to be saying. But on that note, let's go into it. Team news before we go through predicted 11s. Okay. So have you seen this Arteta press conference bingo doing the rounds, by the way? There's a Twitter account from FPL Twitter called FPL 420 who came up with this like bingo card. Have you seen it?
I have about like what Arteta says versus what it actually means, right?
Yeah. So let's read through the bingo card before I give the before I
Yeah.
give the actual team news. So disgrace, disgrace. Unlikely means probably. We will see. I'm not telling you. He's a doubt. It means he's fit to start. I'm hopeful. He's fucked. So on that note, let's go and look at the team news. So on Saka, Calafiori, and Timber's absence, I'm just going to read it word for word, and then we can discuss. We're going to do our very best to somehow have them available, but it's very uncertain. On
Mhm.
Saka, he's done a bit of training on the grass. Timber was expected to be further back than where he is.
Okay.
What else can I find? Sorry, on Saka, that I had half a quote there. So he's done a bit of training on the grass. How far we can get him to Sunday, that's a different question. We have another day, which is a good thing. We will see. On Calafiori, he needs some more tests. Yesterday he had some. Today he's going to have some. From there, we will know because last time as well, we thought his injury was really bad and he ended up playing 2 days after. Let's see. Uh, One other bit of two bits of helpful information, which aren't from like verified sources, but I think they've had a track record of looking pretty well at stuff. So Sam C Reports, I think his name is, on Twitter, apparently reported that Saka was training on I think that was on Wednesday that broke. So
Yeah.
that's what to possibly keep in our headspace. And the other was like
It-
there's a few of these kind of online physios that are looking at Calafiori's, saying that it's maybe I can't remember what acronym. I want to say an MCL, which might be weeks. So there's Arteta's presser, and then there's another bit of context from other unverified reports and journalists. But how do we decipher this? Do we just go straight in and try predict the team with the information we've got, or do we
I
go player
think
for player?
want to add one quote that I read as well, just to add some context to maybe mess with your head before we both predict the lineup. So it was actually something from Pires.
Robert Pires.
Yeah, that was a bit of a throwing. It's a bit of a mind fuck. I'm surprised he would say this publicly. He basically said something about how he was at the Arsenal training ground last Tuesday and like he saw Saka in football boots and it was like not trainers but like proper football boots and he was doing like full on training with someone one on one in rehab but like in proper boots on grass basically.
Okay. I
And I
mean, that's
was
it.
like, why would he say that? Like, has Arteta asked him to put out info that Saka's going to be back when he's not?
I
Like,
mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me at this point. Even like I made a joke in one of the group chats we're in. Arteta's presser was scheduled for 1:30. He came out at like 1:45, and I was genuinely like, it would not surprise me if he was like trying to come up with a plan of like how to 4D chess everyone. But yeah, I think in terms of the lineup, let's go for it. Against Bournemouth, we started with Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel Calafiori, Rice, Partey, Marino midfield, Sterling, Havertz, Trossard. Saliba's obviously suspended, and there's uncertainty around Saka, Timber, Calafiori. Against Shakhtar Donetsk midweek, Jesus came in for Sterling, and what was the other change? It was someone came in for Martinelli and for Marino, wasn't it?
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you reckon going for this one? Is it easier to
So,
just go player by player on if we think he's bluffing or who we think will be there?
yeah, so I think let's start with the back line, right? Like,
Yeah.
it seems Calafiori's out for a couple of weeks. So then that kind of opens the question, is it going to be Zinchenko? Is it going to be Kivio? Like, who is it going to be, right? We know Tomiyasu is probably also out with Calafiori.
Which is so annoying because
That is so annoying.
Tomiyasu has been used against the Salah before and I think done all right and pretty well. So that's so annoying.
Yeah, it is. And obviously, a couple of seasons ago at the Emirates, it was October 2 years ago, I think. And yeah, I remember Salah getting subbed off in the 60th minute after Tomiyasu just beat him in the air, leaping like a salmon to every single diagonal long ball they tried to give him for 60 minutes.
Good memory. I forgot about that.
So it's like knowing that what he was capable, and that was the first time I think he played left back for us ever. It was like he was always playing right back for us, and then like this one game, he just became left back to deal with Salah one on one. And I'm like, why, man? Like with all the other injuries we have, like we need you here now. But so that's the first question: do you think it's going to be like a left back of Zinchenko or Kivio? Like,
well,
any thoughts on that?
Against Shakhtar, when Calafiori went off, Miles Lewis Skelly came on, right?
So that's the other question. Do you think the teenager gets thrown straight in then?
I honestly don't know because I look at that and I think the fact that Zinchenko didn't come on at all, like maybe is he not actually ready? Like I think
That was
in terms
the thing because it was it was the Ukrainian team. I thought maybe he'd get on the pitch, maybe even get a start.
yeah, but also just building him up like that felt like the fact that he brought on a teenage Miles Lewis Skelly over a senior pro in Zinchenko. I mean, I don't believe if they were both 100% fit, he would do that. So that I read that as Zinchenko isn't ready yet. In terms of pecking order, I don't know how to read that, but Kivio, like he can be a solid defender when he plays inside. He makes me incredibly nervous when he's on the outside. I think I've got memories of that game against Bayern Munich with Leroy Sané. Just any 1v1 dribbler, I feel like absolutely gets the better of Kivio on the outside. I don't mind him as a left centre back in a first team around him in a good structure. I think as long as he's not the central point and the key cog in that system, he's fine. But on the outside against the likes of Salah, I feel very nervous. I'm struggling with this one. I don't know if you feel any more confident in picking it, but
I guess the next thing is, could Kivio then slot in at right centre back if Timber isn't ready? So it's kind of like this whole back line is a bit of a jigsaw, isn't it? So we assume Gabriel and White will play. I think White's halftime substitution, as much as Arteta said it was because he was on a yellow, I do wonder if he had an eye on this game. So, reality is that like if Timber's not ready, then surely Kivio plays right centre back. And then that kind of means that who's the left back? Zinchenko, who didn't get minutes off the bench, or does Miles Lewis Skelly get in? So I think for me, it's all about Timber. Like If Timber's ready, you would expect him to play right centre back, maybe right back with him and Ben White on that side, and then that allows Kiwior to play left back. But if Kiwior is going to have to cover the right centre back, then it becomes like, is it Miles Lewis-Skelly or is it Zinchenko? And the one who's played more recently is Miles Lewis-Skelly.
Yeah. Well, how do you actually interpret and read those quotes on Timber? Because even that, I'm really unsure how to interpret that. Because I know I'm jumping section here, but when it comes to score predictions, like the probability feeling I have of Arsenal winning this game if Saka and Timber are in the team is so much stronger. I mean, state the obvious here, but like to illustrate it percentage-wise, sorry. If Saka and Timber are in the team, I think probability of us getting a win is like 65 to 75%. If they're not in the team, I think we lose. And like the probability of us losing, in my opinion, is above 70% if they're both out of the team. Just on top of Odegaard being out, on top of Saliba being out, the makeshift defense that's there. And even I'd throw Tomiyasu in that category. I just think I'd feel so much more comfortable with him at left back in this game, given what we've seen him do before, than a Miles Lewis-Skelly, then as unfit Zinchenko, then a Kiwior. So the importance of Timber being there, I think, is absolutely massive for that backline, because him or White can play right centre back. We've seen Timber do it in pre-season. White did it for a whole season there. I don't know who will play right centre back, who will go right back, but I don't really care, to be honest. Just need Timber.
As long as Timber's there. But I feel he's the least likely to make it out of him and Saka. So I personally think Saka will make it. I think he's on the grass. I think he'll make it. Timber is the bigger worry for me. But Arteta hasn't even ruled out Calafiori, despite the info about him being out for a few weeks. I've just read the full quote again. I don't know if it's mind games or what, but he's just saying we're going to do our very best to somehow have them all available, but it's very uncertain for all three. So he's talking about all of them, right? Like, he's still including Calafiori in that camp. And I'm like, do I really believe that? Is that we're going to do our very best to somehow have them available? Like, what does that mean?
This is giving me a headache, man. If you had a gun to your head, so you said you think Saka will be there.
Definitely get in. Yeah. I think Saka.
So do I.
I think the front three, right, for me, will be Saka, Havertz, Martinelli. That's the front three I'm going with. Martinelli's coming to form at the right time for the right opponent, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's a system-wise then. Do you think he'll go with that 4-4-2 that we reverted back to against Shakhtar, like Havertz, Trossard interchanging as false nines? Or do you think it will be the system that we implemented against Bournemouth, which was more similar to what we've seen for the last year, 4-3-3?
I think it will be the Bournemouth thing. But actually, one thing we didn't discuss, and this is a key one, is I talked about how Kiwior will play right centre-back, which then
Declan Rice possibility?
Declan Rice, yeah. So if he plays there, then that changes the midfield too and the entire structure, because, well, I guess you then have Partey and Marino. Do you really want to pair them with Jorginho? Or does
Jorginho and Rice did fantastic in I can't remember if it was the FA Cup game against Liverpool or the League one, but there was a home game against Liverpool last year, and they were outstanding together.
Jorginho was like man of the match, I think. He was pressing like crazy. Like he just knew what to do in that game. His experience shown. But I just don't know if I'd want to see a midfield three of Marino, Partey, and Jorginho. So then it's like, okay, so if you're putting Rice at centre-back, so you can put Kiwior at left-back, then does Ethan Nwaneri get in with a midfield of Partey, Marino, and Nwaneri? It's like there's so... Like, I honestly think he has deliberately fucked with everyone so that, like, Liverpool just have zero, like, I guess, advantage in being able to know what to prepare for. Like, they just have zero idea who's going to be on the pitch, what position they're going to play. Like, I think the only players I'm confident of calling right now are Gabriel, Raya, White, Partey, and the front three.
And Rice, obviously, but just...
Yeah, and Rice, yeah, but what position? So then it's kind of like the midfielders and the defenders. I could see 9 different variations right now, including with injuries, because God knows if he's even telling the truth about half of these injuries.
Yeah, and that's why I think maybe the best thing for us to do right now is gun to our head, let's just say. So Saka, we've said in. Timber, I'm going to say he doesn't make it.
Yeah, I'd love him to make it. I don't think he will.
Okay, Calafiori, I think we both said we don't think he'll make it.
Yeah, I think Timber's more likely than him. So if I've said no to Timber, I've got to say no to Calafiori.
All right. So with that information, let's go through and pick it. So we've said Saka, yes, Timber and Calafiori, no. I think there is a huge possibility if we're going with that, he puts Rice at centre back. And I know people are going to kill me for that because I've seen a lot of strong opinions on it. And it's just the thinking of, I know what you lose in midfield with Rice is huge, but in terms of the options available, there are other people that are competent that can do a job in midfield. At right centre back, if Timber's not there, I don't think Kiwior or right centre back is what you do in a game of this magnitude. I think Kiwior, if Gabriel was out and Saliba was available, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't love it, but I wouldn't mind
At
it so
least
much.
you know it's his natural position. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a strong possibility he does that with Rice and has the profiles of Marino, Partey, Jorginho. But it's not what it's what I think he'll do more than what I would do, right? And this is why it's really tough. I think system-wise, he's gonna go with that 4-4-2 again, in my opinion. And if I
The
had to
one from
nail
when the one from Tuesday, right? With like Trossard
correct,
is there as well. Okay.
yeah, I just think like he spoke a bit in this presser about kind of changing the system and it taking time. And I think when you've got that many components that are out, you can't replicate your plan A, which is what he tried to do against Bournemouth with different personnel. I think what we found with that 4-4-2, like against Man City, we were looking good when it was 11v11. Against Atalanta, it wasn't great, but then the Southampton and Leicester games, like the game state dictated things massively. But we if we got that first goal, things would have been so different. Like, didn't we create like a record amount of XG against Leicester? Or like creativity was
I think it was
fine.
the highest we've had in a match. Yeah.
And with Saka, in my opinion, being available, I think you can go and play that 4-4-2. Like I said, I think he switched to the 4-3-3 because Odegaard and Saka weren't available. I'm working on the assumption Saka is available, and therefore I think he'll have that creativity that enables him to go 4-4-2. And fuck it, I'm going to go for it. I think it'll be Raya,
Yeah.
White, Rice, Gabriel, Kiwior, Partey, Jorginho, not Marino, Saka, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli is what I think he'll go with. And a bit of the thinking is I've explained the thing on Rice. Like, I just think he has had Jorginho and Partey in this group for years. I think he'll trust them in a game of this magnitude with their experience to do their jobs that they're given. And Rice, we know, is capable of playing that role, even though it's not ideal. I just think it's a better alternative than having to play Kiwior in an uncomfortable position, as well as a kid in Miles Lewis Skelly. It's more the domino effect of what you have to do elsewhere. And Marino, I just think possibly not up to
I
scratch.
wouldn't give him this start. Yeah, I don't think I'd want him to start this game.
So yeah, that's my one. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of stick for that. And the worst thing is I'm going to have to tweet the thread of my
You're gonna have
predicted
to
11,
tweet
isn't
it
it?
as
So
well.
I'll do that and then mute it very soon. But yeah, that's what I'm going with. Raya White, Rice, Gabriel, Kiwior, Partey, Jorginho, Saka, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli. What are you going with?
So I don't know if I'm being flaky here, but if the Timber stuff is smoke and mirrors and he's fit, this is the lineup I'll go with. So I'm just gonna like
That's
go.
cheating. I want to do that.
So I'm just going out on my gut. Yes, so I guess I'm saying maybe Timber will make it, despite saying I thought he wouldn't.
You
He's so
bastard. You
touch
set
and
me
go.
up there.
I know. I set you up for the team with Rice at centre back. I would go with the White, Timber, Gabriel, and I'd love to see Lewis Skelly there. I think I would actually love to see it. People are talking about him not being very tall and like maybe them getting in over behind him and all that. But whenever I've seen him play, and he subbed on the other Champions League game as well, not just the one this Tuesday. He doesn't seem like a teenager. Like he's got a lot of confidence on the ball. He seems very composed, very press resistant for someone that age playing against grown men, right? Something for me feels like you just kind of play him and you take that risk in that one slot. This is the luxury of if you can play Timber and White as the right back, right centre back, whichever way around it is, right? So that's like that's how I see Miles Lewis Skelly getting into the team. That's the only way if Timber plays. Then you have like that one position. They try and nurture him into the game, and then whoever plays in midfield needs to protect him too, because obviously it'll be a big fucking start for someone like him. That's what I pray is going to happen. The midfield would be Rice, Partey, and based on what you said, I think I'll put in Trossard there, playing the Odegaard role, and then a front three of Saka, Havertz, Martinelli.
Fair play.
That would be that is my dream team. I was picking between, do I want Ethan where Trossard plays, or do I want Miles Lewis Skelly at left back instead of Kivior? And I decided Miles Lewis Skelly at left back over Kivior for me felt like a better, more exciting move.
Okay, interesting. For what it's worth, if Timber's fit, I obviously think he'll play. But I must say though, even it was helpful hearing you talk that through, because even if Timber's fit and it's White right back, Timber right centre back, I think Kivior will still be at left back. I just think I take your point on Miles Lewis Skelly, but I think it is just a different ball game, 1v1 defending against a Mo Salah that I don't think. I just personally don't think Arteta, like, this isn't me talking you out of that. It's just more my perspective on things.
I just think that if Partey plays at the 6 and you have Rice and Martinelli on that left side, I think they'll do enough defensively, the pair of them, to protect the kid. That's the way I see it.
The other thing is Partey's played at right back, right? Partey is...
I didn't want to bring that up because I just don't want... I don't want to see that. Like, I would rather Rice at right centre-back than Partey at right back, because I just... I know when we have possession against certain teams, he's basically playing in midfield anyway. They try and run back if we need to defend. But I don't want to see that. Like, he's been good for us in midfield this season. And I think when he moved to right back in the Champions League, we lost so much in the midfield. That's why I don't want to see it. I just feel like he offers so much more in midfield. I just think it really messes our progression up in the center of the park, him moving to right back personally. And I don't think Liverpool are going to give us the ball the whole game like other opposition.
I agree, but Mikel's done it. So do you think what probability do you think there is of Mikel actually doing it in this game? Because I'm not going to lie, I forgot about that when we were going through permutations, and I'd like to revise my predicted 11. I think it's going to be Partey right back, White centre back, Gabriel, and then Kivior, and then Rice and Jorginho in midfield with the same front four I said earlier of Saka, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli. I actually forgot about that. And
I could see him doing that, more likely to do that.
Yeah.
That's more likely, I think, than Rice at centre-back. You're right.
It's not something I like, because the idea of Diaz or Gakpo, whoever's on that left running at Partey, is terrifying. But the other thing I'd say, by the way, even if we go with this 4-4-2, do you remember last year? Well, it wasn't last calendar year. It was this calendar year. We had White as one of the fullbacks, Kivior as the other one, but it was actually White going into midfield and Kivior was tucking in as a back three. I could see that happening a little bit tomorrow on Sunday, where if Kivior is the left back, he has more of the reserved fullback role and the right back actually goes in. That's one to keep in mind, especially with the threat of Trent and Salah on that right hand side. So on Liverpool, obviously we've stopped kind of doing the predicted 11s for the opposition teams, but it's always good to look at what their last team was. So they had for the 2-1 win against Chelsea, it was Kelleher in goal. Obviously Alisson's out. The back four was Trent Konate, who's been brilliant this season, Van Dijk, Robertson. It was a midfielder, Gravenberch, who again has been phenomenal this season, Curtis Jones and Szoboszlai, Salah and Gakpo either side of Jota. Jota's been ruled out of the game, which is great news because he fucking loves playing us. And midweek, I think it was McAllister came in for Jones and Tsimikas came in for Robertson. But I don't think we need to read too much into their predicted 11 because they've got talent everywhere that can hurt us. And we've actually got a Liverpool fan in the chat, David Hunter, who is one of the Planet FPL patrons. So welcome, David. Welcome to the enemy's territory. He says, afternoon, gents. Liverpool fan in peace here. Just seeing how you're feeling ahead of the Sunday. May the best team win. I think you'll hear about that very shortly, mate. We're about to do predicted lineups. But yeah, on Liverpool, that's some of their team news. Jota's ruled out. Nunez started midweek for them. Yeah, they've got talent everywhere. And I think in terms of how the game will go, I think we spoke about Slot impressively kind of adapting their style, right? And adding a bit more control and slower tempo to them. I'll be honest, I didn't actually get to see their game against Chelsea, but apparently there were periods where Chelsea were playing through their thirds quite comfortably. But I look at the results they've got this season and they've been very impressive, Liverpool. It's one where I'm going to cop out slightly with the score prediction. So far, 8 matches predicted. You've predicted 8 wins. I predicted 7 wins and 1 draw. We've obviously drawn 2 and lost 1 out of the 8. You've got the outcome correct 63%, and I've got it 50%, and you've got the correct score 13%. We've both predicted similar amount of goals, 20 and 21. So you've predicted 20 and I've predicted 21. You've predicted we'd concede 1 and I thought we'd concede 4, and we've actually scored 15, conceded 8. This game for me, I said it before, if Saka and Timber are in, I think we win it. Just. Like, not comfortably, just. I just think we'll have enough. I'd go as far as saying as even with Saka but no Timber, I don't think we win this game. And for the 11 I went with, I didn't have Timber in it, right? I don't think Timber's going to make it. Therefore, I think we're going to drop points. I think there's a high chance that we lose this just because of the rhythm and the form that Liverpool are arriving in and the moment we're in right now. And I just think we may fall just short. I'm going to go 1-1, but I think there's a strong possibility with how much we're having to move things around that Liverpool go and get all 3 points, sadly. But I'm going 1-1. If Timber's in the 11, I think we go and win this 2-1, but I think we'll just be short on the lineups and going 1-1, sadly. How about you? Where's your head at?
So funnily enough, leading on with my thought that Timber will be snuck into the lineup and it's smoke and mirrors, I have to go with the 2-1 win. That's my prediction. Obviously, if I see the lineup at 3:30 p.m. or whenever it is, 3:15 p.m. on Sunday on my way to the Emirates, and I do not see Timber in that lineup, and then I see Yotta's made a miraculous recovery too, then I'll be pretty nervous. Well, I remember one of the games I went, I think they won 2-0 at the Emirates a couple of seasons ago. And I remember I had Robertson and Yotta in my fucking FPL team. And the only positive was leaving with some FPL points. And I went with a Mariner, Chris from Net That Hall Days. We went together, Uncle Mike in the chat, Mike Up, and he gave us his brother's tickets. He couldn't go that day. And oh man, like I just remember being next to this guy and he's like celebrating all the Liverpool points in FPL. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, I own them too, but it doesn't make me feel any better.
Nah, could not give a shit about FPL when I'm at the game.
Yeah, when you're there watching Jota fucking score again after the amount of times he's done it before. I think Timber will play, and I do believe that the last time we faced Liverpool last season, and we were coming off the back of a similar run of like poor form, you could say, I guess, and things weren't quite going so well for us. We went and got the win, and I'd like to think it's a similar situation where we're coming in with the expectations dampened a bit, and that actually, hopefully, this will be like the rallying cry to get the fans back behind the team.
That's a really good point you make on that game because, yeah, the narrative around that was if Arsenal lose, titles over and this and that. And I can't remember the stats on that game, but from the feeling I had on that performance was we absolutely walloped them. Like it was night and day, in my opinion, that game when we beat them. And I think that's the thing. I probably worded it wrong. It's less so about the kind of rhythm and the form. It's more the injuries. That's the biggest thing for me. Like it's the having to change too many components of the team. I think that's the thing that's making me less confident.
And I'm predicting that we're lying about some of the injuries, hence maybe where my false confidence comes from, right? I do think reality is like, I don't think it's going to be the kind of high scoring games of old, maybe between Liverpool and Arsenal. I do think like what Tommy's saying in the chat about all things considered a low scoring draw. My realistic expectation is a 1-1, maybe even a 0-0. But I'm just kind of going with my heart with the 2-1 and the Timber start. But deep down inside, I reckon I couldn't be too upset over a draw here. Like I think I'd be pretty happy to take those points and keep going.
Yeah, let's hope you're right because I do agree with you. If Timber is smoke and mirrors and in that 11, If Saka is like we both think he is, I think we have enough to win this. Let's get David's opinion of the Liverpool side of things. So David says, I think 1-1-2 for what it's worth. I don't think either side will be unhappy with that. Tricky knowing how ballsy Slot will be as we're getting to know him in massive games like this. That's interesting. Like, I think if it was the other way round and Liverpool had the amount of injuries and uncertainty that we do, I'd be very disappointed going there and being
I think because it's away though, right? So like if we were going to Anfield and they had injuries, I'd still probably think, okay, like it's Anfield. Like, like it's one of those situations like how many teams actually win at Anfield, right? Over the years. Like
yeah, but with those Forest and and with those circumstances, I just think it's the players missing. But yeah, fair play. Let's hope you're right. I am praying.
I think 1-1. I think 1-1 is realistic. I think what David's saying, what you're saying, what my brain tells me, I think 1-1 is screaming all over the place. 1-1, but I just have to believe that there's some kind of mind games going on here, and certain players will be back.
I hope so. And like with the players we got available, this feels like a game of like it's gonna be moments, right? Like I don't think it's gonna be end to end and endless chances. I think it's the likes of Martinelli, Trossard with his efficiency. Like regardless of Trossard's performance in this game, we just need the ball to fall to someone like him. We need Martinelli to do what he does in typically this fixture where he carries us up the thirds. He usually gives Trent a tough game, and Trent's actually been performing well defensively this season. So I think this will be a game for key players to step up and just being efficient. That's the thing. We're so inefficient in the final thirds. The amount of high turnovers we get and we just don't convert them. This is the game where we just have to be efficient. But yeah, I'm praying you're right. I've got a little gut feeling you might be, in terms of like the smoke screens, a predicted team, and then hopefully the score. But if you're going on Sunday, bring your A game. The atmosphere was a little flat on a Tuesday against Shakhtar, understandably so, but bring your A game on Sunday. The team are going to need us. Atmosphere should be rocking. It's a big game, and it's just, I can't shake this feeling of annoyance. I think if both teams were fully fit, I think we'd win at home. I really do.
I think at home, yeah. I think at home. I just think Liverpool have started so much better than anyone would have predicted. Like in this period after Klopp, like to go from a manager like Klopp and do what they've done so far. I understand the opposition haven't, like, Slot said it himself, they haven't been like the most competitive competition. They're not like, they haven't played like the Man Cities or Arsenals of the world yet, but this is the first chance for him to also, he'll want to make a statement, and
of course
he'll want to show the tactician he is and the charisma he has. And I think he's a great manager, and I can see that he can unite those players to believe in his vision and fight for him. So I think they've done very good replacing Klopp with Slot. And I don't like this idea that just because of the opponents they faced, it means that they're not so good and it's new manager bounce. Like, I think we need to be careful not to fall into that trap, and we need to just be like, shit, okay, like they actually kind of, we didn't think this would happen, but they've done very well. I would have thought there'd be like a little bit of a fucking dip after Klopp left, but they look pretty good, and they almost play a bit more not conservatively, but less on
controlled.
The transition. That's it, controlled. Like Trent, for example, like you were saying how much better he's been. I think part of that is because he's been playing as more of a traditional defender. Like he's not in the midfield as much, right? So it's kind of, but again, as David says, we don't know what Slot would do in a match like this away from home because they've not had to do one of these yet. So maybe all of that goes out the window and his pragmatism and control goes out the window, and we just see some entertaining game for the neutral end to end. Maybe equally, if all signs are to be believed and we have the injuries we do and Slot is more controlled, this is going to be some fucking boring game for the neutral. I'll tell you now. 0-0 is my prediction, more than 1-1.
Well, I thought you said fucking 2-1.
No, but I mean, like, if the injuries are real,
oh, sorry.
0-0 is my prediction if they're real, the injuries.
Fair play. No, I hope we don't have to play this guessing game for the rest of the season because it is giving me a headache. But yeah, let's see the lineup drop on Sunday. We'll be back on Monday night, we said, to review this game. And then I'm actually going to Preston next Wednesday for that. So very excited for that. But yeah, Nima and I will be back on Monday to review the game. Thanks everyone for joining. As usual, all the, what's it called? It's like the procedural stuff, isn't it? If you're watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so you catch us when we go live. Drop the stream a like if you're in the chat. That would be much appreciated. And drop a 5-star review on audio if you can, as that helps us a lot. It's a big one. Let's just go and get the 3 points and we'll be back on Monday. Up the Arsenal. Come on.
Come on, you Gunners.